Hello, students. Hi, how are you? Okay, I hope you're having a good Saturday. Okay, it's a rainy day over here. I hope my line is good. I hope my lesson will not be interrupted. Okay, first of all, I hope you can hear me. Can I have some feedback from anyone in the audience? Is there anyone who is watching? Can you please give me a feedback whether you are able to hear me loud or clear? Loud and clear. Okay. Sawi, hi. Good evening. Kate Yi, Min Yin. Okay, yes, can hear. All right, good. Okay, so we will start lesson today. Okay, now today's lesson is it's quite I find it is if I heard feedback from students past years, they don't like this chapter very much. Okay, Min Yin, thanks a lot for your feedback. It's because they find it difficult to remember and it's very confusing. Okay, what I'm referring to is this nitrogen cycle. So today, my mission is I'm going to make it very clear to you what you need to remember and how the whole system works. Okay, so nitrogen cycle is an important cycle, just like the carbon cycle and the water cycle. Okay, so nitrogen is a very important element, and we need it. All right, we need it because protein. We need it to form protein. One of the basic components of protein, that means the amino acid, you need to have carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and also nitrogen. Okay, so one of the very basic elements that you need, we call it components to make amino acid, is actually nitrogen. So without the element of nitrogen, in fact, protein does not exist. There is no amino acid, there's no protein. So we need to learn about how the nitrogen, all right, exists and how it is recycled in our ecosystem and also on our earth all right. So let's look at nitrogen cycle. After that, I will go through the roles of the microorganisms. So this is a continuation of the previous chapter. The existing chapter, which is chapter 8, which is a continuation. So this is actually also 8 point. Sorry, this is 8.2, 8.1. Let me check. This is 8.3. 8.3. Okay, which is all about microorganisms and viruses. Okay, I'll share screen now. All right, I hope you can see this. Okay, nitrogen cycle. And I will start with, today I'm doing a PowerPoint because I find it is going to be more effective if I do a PowerPoint to show you the flow of things, because the arrows have to come here and there. So it's going to be very, very confusing if I cannot show you how it works. Okay, so I've made gone to the trouble of making the PowerPoint. Okay, so that it's clear for you. Okay, first of all, let me share a PowerPoint slide. So this is chapter 8. So you need to remember nitrogen cycle. Now, why do we need to learn nitrogen cycle in our chapter on microorganisms? The reason is because microorganisms play a very important role in the nitrogen cycle. Okay, some of the organisms inside there that help to convert one nitrogen substance into another. That means nitrogen exists in many forms. So you need something to convert this nitrogen substance, okay, or the substance which contains nitrogen, we call it nitrogenous substance, from one form to the other, and that is done by microorganisms. So therefore, we need to learn about nitrogen cycle in the chapter of microorganisms. Okay, so I shall start now. Okay, let me start. Oh, sorry. Let me, okay, present first. Present. All right. Okay, so nitrogen cycle. All right. If there are questions or get you any problem, please let me know. I will look at your site here. All right, at the same time. All right, now let's look at our earth. Okay, now we have animals, we have plants. So actually, all right, there are 6 processes I want you to remember when you talk about the whole cycle. So I will label them from number 1 to number 6. So in your textbook, it's a bit complex. It's a bit what do you call it? A bit fuzzy numbers. So I would like you to understand from this diagram. I have more or less put it in a structured way. Okay, I know this is a topic for many students. So I've put it in a structured way so that you are able to trace the changes of substance of the nitrogen from one form to the other and how they react to each other. Okay, why we call it cycles? They form from E and it comes back to A. So it's a full circle. Okay, now first know that there is atmospheric nitrogen. Atmospheric nitrogen that exists in the form of gas. Okay, and we have a lot of it. Do you remember of 100% of the inhaled air, that means the air that we have in the atmosphere, how many percent of it is actually nitrogen? You have learned that in Form 1, I remember. Okay, so do you still recall? Or these are the basic things that you should carry over until you're Form 5. In fact, you should carry over until you go to, if you're doing science. So how many percent of the air is actually nitrogen gas in the form of N2? In molecule form, okay? Just like oxygen, O2. So nitrogen is like how many percent? Okay, so I am looking at your answers here. Okay, I will go through that. I've got answer already. Okay, I've got 77, I've got 78. Yes, you're very close. Actually, it's 78. So 77 is quite acceptable also. All right, no problem. So 78%, that means a large portion of nitrogen that exists, or the air that is on our earth here, a large portion of it is actually nitrogen gas. Okay, so that means shouldn't be a problem, right? When we have a lot of nitrogen. Yeah, 70% and above. Correct. Okay, and we only have like 20% oxygen and in 0.03% of carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide and oxygen pales in comparison to the volume, the amount of nitrogen in the air. But the problem is, you see, nitrogen that we have in the air, it is in gaseous form, which is N2 in gas. Okay, so one molecule of oxygen, nitrogen, they form a bond in a covalent, and you get. And not many organisms in this world are able to use that nitrogen in form. That means absorb that nitrogen in the air and convert it into protein in our body. Humans can't do that. Plants can do that, and animals cannot. Okay, so that means the nitrogen have 78%. There's a lot of nitrogen there, but we cannot convert it into a form that we can use. What is the form that we can use? We use it in the form of protein. We have protein body in our soul, in our enzymes, okay, in our hormones, antibodies, protein molecules. So we cannot change that. We cannot take that nitrogen in the atmospheric form and change it into something that we can use. Okay, that is the biggest cycle in terms of cycle. But fear not, humans can do it, animals cannot do it, plants cannot do it. We have microorganisms that can. So these organisms, we're going to learn later, can convert the nitrogen, the N2 form, all right, into something that is able to be used by organisms, like living cells. Okay, so what is that? What is sound called? All right, from nitrogen, you need to convert into nitrates. So if you learn in chemistry, right, you do take chemistry, nitrate O3 minus. So you need to convert that nitrogen into nitrate, and this nitrate only then can be absorbed by plants, and that they use the nitrogen inside there in the nitrate to form acid, to form proteins. So protein in the okay. So plants can only absorb the nitrogen in the form of nitrate. They cannot absorb the air in the form of nitrogen. So that is the first obstacle for we call it the assimilation or using of nitrogen. So to rely on a lot of things. One major thing is the microorganisms. Okay, now besides that, we look at the things that can convert, conversion, converting nitrogen into nitrate. Okay, so we look at 6 arrows. Okay, I want you to understand the processes. Okay, first one, right? Now this I'll look at it in general. After that, I give you the notes. The next slide will show you all the different okay, what happens there. Now there is a process which happens naturally on Earth that can convert nitrogen in a form of gas into nitrate. Okay, now naturally, what I mean is a natural process, and this is okay. We call this as lightning. So you know, lightning phenomenon. Okay, it happens, thunderstorm and so on. You have huge amounts of electricity, high voltage, because of the potential difference, the huge potential difference between a positively charged and a negatively charged field. So the electrons will jump from one to the other. So you have the air, All right. This phenomenon, right, is logical. So talking about out of the 6 processes here, 2 of them are non-biological. Okay, 1 and 2 are actually natural. 1 is natural occurring. Number 2 is actually man-made. We go to number 1 first, lightning, and this is called atmospheric fixation. When it's fixation, it actually means converting the in a free form, from a free form into a compound form. That's what we call fixation. You're fixing the nitrogen from the molecule, which is free nitrogen, into a compound. Compound, like what it means, nitrate or nitrites, they are all compounds. Even ammonium is a nitrogen compound. Okay, so that's number 1. All right, so you need to know. Now this one you do not need microorganisms. In fact, this one just needs a lot of high voltage. So the nitrogen in the will combine with the oxygen in the air under high voltage. When lightning occurs, you are going to get nitrogenous compounds and so on. Okay, we'll look at this later. So this is number 1. It is a natural process. It's nothing to do with biology, not biological process. 2. Now number 2 is a man-made process. In fact, one scientist, of Fritz Haber, learned in chemistry, the Haber process. Have you learned the Haber process? Haber-Bosch process is where a scientist called by the name of Fritz Haber have invented of converting nitrogen into nitrate, into compound, and is actually making fertilizer. Okay, so this Fritz Haber, he won the Nobel Prize for chemistry in 1918, if I'm not mistaken, 1913. So because of his discovery of a method of actually convert nitrogen into nitrates or into ammonium compounds, not exactly into nitrate, but ammonium compound. In that way, actually, he's able to make fertilizer, because ammonium compounds are actually what the plants needs. So if you want a plant to grow very well, you need to have the substance which contains nitrogen, that is nitrates. Okay, they cannot absorb from the air, but they can absorb it in the form of soil, and you can man-made it. We can make the nitrate man-made process by converting the nitrogen into ammonium, and later on ammonium convert into nitrate. So this Fritz Haber is actually, his contribution was he was able to make fertilizer. And that was a big contribution because it could alleviate, world hunger, because you can grow plants better and you can get a bigger crop. Okay, so that's his contribution, right? Fritz Haber. You will learn that in chemistry, the Haber process. Okay, so this is also not biological. This is a chemical process, man-made. All right, so number 1 is naturally occurring. Number is man-made. Okay, let me just check on my, let me see whether my line is okay. I hope that I don't get disconnected, because if I get disconnected, find another way to get in again. All right. Now, next one. Am I still here? Okay, because it's raining over here, see? So it's raining. If it's raining, then I will have a, all right? Okay, let me check. I think it's okay, yeah? All right, let me continue. Number 3. Now, number 3, this is what we are going to learn. In fact, all of them we have to learn. 3, 4, 5, 6. This involves, number 3 involves microorganisms. Okay, let's look at the overview. Number 2 is nitrogen fixation. Okay, that one is man-made process. Okay, it's a nitrogen fixation. So fixation, remember, the process is converting free nitrogen into compound form. That is fixation. Okay, number 3. Number 3, you have to remember, because it's to do with our role of microorganisms. Okay, there are certain microorganisms that can convert the free nitrogen, that means nitrogen in the form of molecules in the air, into ammonium compound, NH4 positive. Okay, now in biology, you don't really have to remember the chemical formula and all that. It's enough for you to just write ammonium. Okay, I'm just putting there so that, because I usually put them together, you can just write ammonium because it's an ion, so NH4 positive. And from ammonium, there's another group of microorganisms that can convert that into nitrite, NO2 minus, all right? And then there is another group of microorganisms, you'll see later, that can convert the nitrite into nitrate. Okay, nitrite into nitrate. So all these are done by microorganisms, particularly bacteria. So we're gonna learn some bombastic names, some bacteria names, which you have to remember. Okay, if you want to score lah, all right? Then this process is called nitrogen fixation as well, right? But this is not man-made. This is naturally, occurring by bacteria. So this process is called nitrification. Converting ammonium into nitrite is nitrification, and converting nitrite to nitrate is also called nitrification. So it's like converting one form of a substance with nitrogen into another form, okay? So that it is able to be used by the plants later on. So now we have nitrate in the soil, okay? That means it's good for the plant. This is literally like fertilizer for the plant. Okay, so how are the plants going to make use of it? So the plants are going to absorb them through the roots, okay? They're going to absorb them through the roots. And that's number 4 now, right? This is called assimilation, how the plant makes use of it. This is through nutrition. That means they're absorbing it through their roots, okay? So assimilation means bringing the thing into and incorporating it into the cell. It's assimilation, taking it inside. So now the plant takes in the nitrate. We need the nitrate to form amino acid. And now the plant has amino acid, so it is able to form protein. Okay, protein in the plant. So the plant has got enzymes and they also need protein. So this plant, right, later on will be eaten by animals. Let's see the grass eaten by the cow. So when the animal eats the plant, whatever protein or amino acid that's in the plant, right, the nitrogen is there. When the animal eats it, this nitrogen will be transferred into the body of the animal. Okay, this is through nutrition now, right? The animal eats the plant, when the cow eats the grass. Whatever nitrogen that's in the cells of the plant, whatever nitrogen that means in the amino acid form, it will be transferred to the animal. So now the cow is able to make protein. It's able to make to use the protein to make muscles and so on. Okay, so the protein from the plant has been transferred into the animal. Now, next is number 4. Okay, number 5. Now, animals and plants, of course, they do die, right? They don't live forever. So when it dies, whatever nitrogen in the form of amino acid or protein in the body will undergo decomposition. They will die, right? You have bacteria, you have fungus in the ground. So when they die, they will be buried in the ground. Though the saprophytic bacteria will attack it and then will convert the nitrogen into ammonium. So the protein from the plant goes back into ammonium. It's converted into, it's broken down actually. It's a decomposition process. Decomposition means something that is more complex, like protein, will be broken down into something simpler. NH4, this is ammonium. It's a simpler compound. Okay, so decomposition. Now you will see that from the protein, which is complex, it will be broken down to ammonium, and this ammonium can carry on, you see, can carry on and convert back into nitrite and convert back to nitrate, and it will be absorbed by other plants. So when anything that dies, why is it good to bury in the ground? In fact, it becomes fertilizer. Why? Because they get to be broken down into ammonium. Later on, it becomes nitrite, and later on becomes nitrate. Okay, are you able to see my pointer? I'm actually pointing with my mouse. If you can't, then I got to use this. Wait, hang on. Oh no, I can't use that. Okay, never mind. I will just show with my pen. Okay, so this is the ammonium. All right. Sorry, already. Okay, never mind. You can't see this. Oh yeah, you can see my mouse. All right. Okay, good, because I'm looking at the YouTube channel. All right, you can see. Now, next one. So number 5, you can see ammonium is converted back to nitrate, and this one forms what we call badger or fertilizer for other plants. Okay, now we go to the last process, 6. Number 6. Number 6 is actually, you see, if you have only everything turning from nitrogen into nitrate, you see all the arrows pointing down to nitrate, correct? Now, you see, from nitrogen convert to here. From nitrogen you go to atmospheric fixation, you get nitrate. And nitrogen also you get nitrate. Then nitrogen also to number three, to number three, it goes into nitrate. Number four, even though it's nitrate comes out, but you see come back to nitrate. So you see, if everything looks like everything is being converted from nitrogen into nitrate, now there must be another process which returns back the nitrate into nitrogen form. Because if you do not have this process, what happens is, as time goes by, okay, lama kelamaan, you will find all the nitrogen in the air, in our atmosphere, will all be changed into nitrate. There'll be no more nitrogen in the air because it looks like everything is being turned into nitrate. Okay, so this is not a cycle. If it's always one way, from A turn to B, everything from A turn to B, you don't have something to return B back into A, it is not called a cycle. A cycle has to come full round. Okay, A turns to B, B goes back to A, then you call it a cycle. So there is another link here, which is actually number 6. This is called denitrification. So there's another group of bacteria which actually are able to break down the nitrate, convert the nitrate back into nitrogen. Okay, so you see now in the end, then you will see it's a full circle. Whatever nitrogen that has been taken, converted into nitrate, actually there will be another process which converts it back into nitrogen. So you will see there is what we call a dynamic equilibrium. Okay, so all these resources in this earth or in this world, they're actually finite. It's there. It's just like energy, right? You cannot make energy out of nothing. Energy is already there. You can convert energy from one form to the other form. So same thing as all the elements here in this on this world, right? It is there, but it can be converted from one form to the other form. So you have the 6th process here, which is called denitrification. There is a group of bacteria which are able to return back the nitrate into the air to get nitrogen. So it breaks down the nitrate. Okay, so you have a full cycle now. If you don't, when I say that if you do not have, you find that one day your atmosphere will run out of nitrogen. Everything will be bonded, everything will be converted into nitrate. It will not have nitrogen anymore. That means it's not a cycle, right? You have more and more nitrates and you have less and less nitrogen. So there's no dynamic equilibrium. Okay, now, so this is the diagram I would like you to remember. Okay, you can forget about other diagrams because sometimes it can be too difficult to follow, but I would suggest that this is one of the simplest and the easiest one to remember. So I'm going to go through one by one, okay, with the notes here. So number 1, you see they are color coded. Okay, number 1 is blue, right? Number 2 is green. Okay, it's easy for me to when I show you my notes. Number 3 is number 4 is here, 5 orange is brown. Okay, so I'm going to go through number 1 now. Atmospheric nitrogen fixation. Okay, this is called atmospheric nitrogen fixation. You can just say as atmospheric fixation because we're talking about nitrogen. Okay, number 1. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when you have lightning, right, it has high voltage. So voltage, what happens? Nitrogen in the air, and this is the nitrogen in the air are able to combine with oxygen because of high, there's a lot of power there, a lot of energy there. So they are able to, you're going to get nitric oxide in the air, okay, in the atmosphere. Okay, so N2, the chem formula, because chemistry is fine, just write nitrogen and oxygen, nitric oxide. Okay, and of course with lightning, the occurrence of lightning. Okay, nitric oxide combines, get oxidized. This is actually, when you plus oxygen, it means oxidized. It's oxide become nitrogen dioxide. So nitrogen dioxide is NO2. You know these gases which cause pollution, right? And it's quite pungent and it is acidic. Okay, and then it will a respiratory passage. Okay, nitrogen dioxide. Now you do go through the nitric oxide plus oxygen again. You can straight away talk about your nitrogen combined with oxygen, and then you straight away can say nitrogen dioxide, NO2. Okay, because we're not particular about all the chemical equations because we're not doing chemistry. So as long as you're able to say nitrogen combined with oxygen, you will get nitrogen dioxide. That's perfectly fine in terms of bio. Okay, now this is still in gas form. Okay, we haven't formed into nitrate yet. Nitrate is in the ground, in the soil. So how does this nitrogen dioxide go into the ground. So this NO2 in short form, it gets dissolved in the water. Now in our atmosphere, there's a lot of water. There's a water, okay, which will condense to become. So this is dissolves in the water. Down, it becomes nitrous acid and nitric acid. Difference acid and nitric. So, I'm not able to write here. Okay, nitrous acid is HNO2, while nitric acid is HNO2. So doesn't matter, right? There are two different forms of nitrous compounds. Okay, and then these are acidic. So these are the ones that also the acid, and the nitric acid is the one the acid that causes acid rain as well. Okay, so this nitrous acid and acid rain, they drop down from the sky, all right, in the rain, together with the rain, and when it goes into the ground, it reacts with ammonium, with salt. For example, ammonium salt, calcium salt, or potassium salt that's in the soil. So when the acid reacts calcium salt and you will get calcium nitrite, or potassium nitrite, or calcium nitrate, or potassium nitrate. Okay, you're going to get these salts in the ground. So they have actually now from nitrogen form into what? See nitrogen here, form into nitrates. Okay, so now this is a natural process aided by lightning. So you will have nitrogen naturally converted into nitrate in the soil. Okay, so this is one. Okay, remember that, number one. Now let's go to number two. Number two is a man-made process. Man-made process is discovered by Fritz Haber, German scientist at the turn of the century. Okay, there's a lot of story about it. Actually, I do not know whether you want to listen. Anyway, he is such a brilliant scientist. So he discovered how to make fertilizer, how to convert nitrogen from the air into nitrates. Nitrates that is suitable for plants to use as a fertilizer. Okay, but they also actually discovered Germany at that time was on the expansion of empire, Nazi and so that. He was by the government, to invent a chemical weapon. So he also proposed using chlorine as a chemical weapon to kill the Allied soldiers. Allied soldiers means the UK, United Kingdom, and the Americans. Right? At that time, they were at war with the Germans. So at that time, he, as a scientist, his wife was against it. His wife did not her husband to actually use for the sake of using science to kill people. So she was very, very much against it, right? But he was a Nazi, him, and then he used this chlorine to kill used as a chemical weapon. So the wife was very. And the story goes that the wife committed suicide because she was really against that. Okay, so that's a very sad ending, all right, to the wife and so on. He's a brilliant scientist actually. So they are good at science. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. It's up to you whether you want to use it for the of human or you want to use science to nuclear weapons or biological weapons to kill bacteria. You can use it. You can engineer it to kill anybody in the whole world. Okay, you can put it in water source. You can do whatever you want. So it's actually all about moral values. Okay, so it's not just be you are able to use your knowledge to the betterment of human or not. Go back to this one. Now, this is the second one I'm talking about, the industrial nitrogen fusion, which nitrogen combined reacts with hydrogen. So he used nitrogen gas in the form of gas and hydrogen also in the form of gas. He combined it, of course, using iron as a catalyst, right? Catalyst means to make it process faster, and he's able to use ammonia. Notice that this is not equation that is already balanced. I'm just showing NH3 only. It's not balanced, as you can understand. Ammonium is later converted to form urea, right? Also, for example, for the ammonium nitrate and potassium nitrate. So you can convert the ammonium into nitrate. Okay, all these are called fertilizers. So they're called inorganic fertilizer made. Okay, it is not if you say organic fertilizer, will be the fertilizer that we get from chicken sheet, right? Chicken feces or urine. That is organic. That means it's something that is made by a human cell or a human cell or animal or whatever. Okay, a living cell, man-made. Actually made the fertilizer. Okay, so that's number 2, right? Nothing to do with biology yet. You notice number 1 and number 2, they are not biological processes. So number 3, let's biological nitrogen. Now this one makes use of microorganisms. So you have to remember some names here. Let me just check your comments. Okay, nothing here. So let's some names here. This is number 3. First part of number 3, which is number 3 is converting your nitrogen now into ammonium. It's done. How is it converted into ammonium? Okay, now, all right, you have a group of microorganisms called nitrogen fixing bacteria. This is a general name. Nitrogen fixing bacteria tells you what the bacteria can do. These bacteria are able to convert nitrogen in the form of gas into ammonium. So they are called nitrogen bacteria. Okay, there are 2 types of nitrogen fixing bacteria here. Some which are symbiotic. Symbiotic means they live together with plants. Okay, so example of which is the pokok kacang. It's called LEGU. And plants. Kacang that you know, kacang tanah, groundnut plants. Okay, soy, right? The plants which come under the family of leguminous plants. The family is called Leguminaceae, if I'm not mistaken. So they live together. This kind of bacteria, the symbiotic one, they together with the pokok kacang. But where? Which part of pokok kacang? Okay, so lives in the roots. Now you see the root there, there are bulges there. They are called nodules. Okay, you can see over here. These are called nodules. So nodules is like a bulge here, and inside houses this house rhizobium. So the rhizobium stay there. The rhizobium stay at the. You can see all this. If you pull up a nut plant, you see all these little small nodules there. Okay, so this rhizobium stays there. So they are able to convert to. They live in the roots of the legumes. Legumes are pokok kacang, right? All the kacang, whatever kacang you can think about, they probably the same family. And they are able to convert, okay, here, converting nitrogen into ammonium. Okay, the second group here is free living. There's another group of bacteria, they are biotic, they do not need to live inside another plant. They are naturally occurring, they live in the soil. Okay, which is Azotobacter. Okay, just remember some names. Remember Azotobacter, Nostoc, and Nabe. So these are free living bacteria which are able to convert nitrogen in the form of gas into ammonium. Okay, so there's a first step already. First step of the nitrogen into nitrate. This is the step, right? And nobody can do it except these fellas, except this rhizobium and Azotobacter and the other examples where I don't need to. So this rhizobium is symbiotic relationship, actually mutualism, right? They both help each. The rhizobium stays in the kacang, helps them to make, and the nitrate is good for plant because it's like fertilizer for the kacang. So it's very easy to plant kacang because they have their own natural fertilizer there. Okay, they can make their own fertilizer because the rhizobium is helping. And in return, the rhizobium, of course, and a protector inside this you there. So it mutualistic. Okay, that means I help you, you help me. Both sides having just. Okay, let's go to the second half of your sheet. We only see it's already converted into what? Ammonium, right? It has not been converted into nitrate yet. Go on. From ammonium, later on it will be converted into nitrate. Okay, first of all, now you look at this diagram. Ammonium now goes on to the first step. The next step is the nitrite first. NO2 minus nitrite. Okay, so here we are talking about here now. you need another group of bacteria. Okay, just now was nitrogen fixing bacteria. Now this group of bacteria called nitrifying bacteria. It's almost the same concept. They're just converting only lah. Converting the nitrogen, the substance of that contains nitrogen from one form to the other. So this is nitrifying bacteria. So make use of the correct term, because if you do it, use it interchangeably, it may not be correct, because they are very specific with these terms. So when you talk about converting ammonia into nitrite, use nitrifying bacteria. Okay, now what kind of bacteria is this? So remember the name Nitrosomonas. So this is specific. Don't give me other my bacteria name. You must say Nitrosomonas. And notice that whenever you write your genus, it's always what? If it's a type, it must be italics. Okay, I've done italics here. If you're writing by handwriting, please underline the genus. The SP, you're not sure about the SP, you do not know about the species name, just leave the SP dot. Okay. Now, what does it do? It converts. This example first. Look at the diagram. Nitrosomonas. It converts ammonium in the form of ammonium, NH4 plus, into an ion called nitrite. So when you talk about nitrate, be specific. Don't simply mumble the two of them, because nitrite is different from nitrate. Okay. One is so nitrite, NO2 minus. So the process is called nitrification. Okay, but not yet finished, because this has not been converted into nitrate. So you need another kind of bacteria, which is known as Nitrobacter. Okay, Nitrobacter, it will convert the nitrite, the NO2 minus. Remember just now, it's a continuation of the process lah. So this is Nitrobacter. NO2 minus convert into nitrate now. Okay, so now we come to nitrate. So nitrate is what you want. In fact, nitrate is what the plants want. You want this as this is the form of nitrogen compound or substance that the plant can use. Other forms it cannot use. It can't use nitrite. It can only use nitrate. Okay, so now we have already formed nitrate. This is process number 3, which is a biological process that makes use of bacteria. Specific bacteria, not just any bacteria. Okay, specific. And so you must remember the names. All right, you have to remember Azotobacter, Rhizobium, all that. That was the earlier one. Now it's Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter. You read it many times. It's not impossible. It's not impossible to remember. It is possible, because for me, because I'm saying it for many years and so on. Every year, I've already more or less memorized all this. It can happen for you. You can do it also. Okay, you just keep on remembering, and you remember. Enough for the exam now, of course. After that, you can forget about it. Okay, now let's go on to the next one. Now we've finished number 3. Now let's go to number 4. Nitrification. The process is also called nitrification. Okay, next, let's talk about now what you're going to do with the nitrate. Now you have seen all the process that converts it into nitrate, right, into the soil. So this is good for the plants. So the plants is going to use this, and it's going to absorb it and already in cell. So we call assimilation. Okay. So here you can see my background. My background will call the arrow so that it's easy for you. So now when background is yellow, so the arrow is yellow. I'm talking about that one. Okay, number 4. So this one. Now nitrites. Nitrate. You have to be careful. I have to be careful. So now that are made, right? They are going to be absorbed by the plants through the roots now, of course, right? To be used to synthesize protein, to make protein, to make nucleic acid. So nitrogen is needed for proteins, all right? Amino acid, nucleic acid. So a lot of things need nitrogen. So that's why it's very important. And without nitrogen, in fact, there is no life on Earth. Protein is the base block, okay, that makes up the cells. So you don't have that, you don't cell. Okay, so next. Now, so when the plants are eaten by animals, so now the already has protein, all right, because they use the nitrate to feed. Now, when the plants are eaten by animals, okay, let's say herbivores, they eat the animals. So this nitrogen in the form of amino acid in the plant will be transferred over into the animal's body. And the animal will use that nutrient to make protein inside the body. So protein exists in animal and plants, right? Plants will become protein in animals to get nutrition food. Okay, we eat the food. Cow eats the plant. Okay, so you get protein. So we have protein any in the body. Okay, so this is a simulation, right? Through nutrition. Okay, number 5. You see, it has gone the full round yet. The protein is now in the so animal dies and the plant dies. All right, it undergoes decomposition. This is number 5. So you're talking about now animals in the order, talking about the circle there, this one. So now the plant animal, when they die, you notice that they will decompose. What causes them to decompose? It is because fungus. Okay, fungus, they will grow and they will break down that substance, the tissues and every lipid, the carbohydrates, proteins are all going to be broken down. And no bacteria. But bacteria, there are many types. The only one that does this process is called saprobacteria. So only saprophytic bacteria can decompose. You also have bacteria which are autotrophic. They can that one doesn't decompose this dead things. So fungal and saprophytic bacteria. So these are in the ground, right? It helps to break down dead bodies, dead animals, so plants that are rotting away in the okay. So plants die. So what happens is the protein in the body of the plant and animal, they will be converted back into ammonium. Okay, by this action of fungi and also saprophytic bacteria. So bacteria is important for you to say saprophytic. Not all bacteria are saprophytic. Some are autotrophic. That means they make their own food. But bacteria, they don't make their own food. They absorb the substance from the dead that is dead there, right? They just take the nutrient and they breaks it down at the same time. Okay. This process is ammonification. Now this is easy because they are forming. Okay. So ammonification is converting from protein into ammonium. Ammonium compound. So it's breaking it down into ammonification. Okay, understand? All right. So I hope it's not too much for you to understand. It's just you have to flow lah, and you're gonna get into a head. Okay, this one, this, and you go through a few rounds. It's not difficult. You can get it. Okay. Next. Now let's go to the last one. The last one is actually a river bed because you see everything like forms nitrates in it at the moment, isn't it? Everything like is converting into nitrate. If everything converts into that means your nitrogen in the air is going to get less and less and less until one like disappear nitrogen. Habis lah, you only in the ground only. That means you have to have another nitrate converts back your nitrate back into feed. So this process is called nitrification. Denitrification. The word de means opposite. It's like breaking down, just like decomposition. Composition is to make it up. So composition is to break it down. Okay. Nitrification is to make it nitrogen more. Denitrification is to break it down. So always the D has the opposite, is to break, is to undo it. Okay, that is the prefix there. Okay, so going to the brown background, all right, arrow here. So this process is actually converting nitrates back into nitrogen. Okay, so nitrogen in the form of gas, all right, denitrifying bacteria. So it's done by denitrifying bacteria. Okay, not nitrifying, remember to say the denitrifying bacteria. They convert or break down nitrates to nitrogen in the form of gas. Okay, now what are the names of bacteria? You need to know. Okay, it's not in what we learn also. You remember the Nitrosomonas nitrobacter for the nitrogen. You do not examples for denitrification. The names of the bacteria, as long as the nitrate is converted into nitrogen gas, that will suffice. That will be enough for you. Okay, so I hope that the cycle is clear now. You need to remember the 6 processes. First 2 are not biological. All right, number 3, 4, 5, 6. This one involves microorganisms and also, of course, involving the nutritional biology. Then you learn of it step by step. Okay, go through it again and look at the conversion. It is not impossible. It's quite easy. I'm done with this cycle. Let's go to the role of microorganism in as a producer. And okay, let's go through that. Okay, I will have to close this. All right. Now, let me go to let me share another one. I'm going to go through my OneNote here. Okay, let's look at the role of microorganisms. All right. Number 1, microorganisms serve as producer. So producer, that means they produce food. They are able to convert in the form of light or even in the form of other forms of energy into something that is considered food, can give food to other organisms. Not producer. So all right, there are 2 types of bacteria that can synthesize food, that can make food. Now, we have learned these terms before, photosynthesis and chemosynthesis, right? Where do you learn this? Remember, I just give you a flashback in case you've already forgotten in your previous. If you forgot, please look back at the previous video before this, where I talk about the tension. Autotrophic, these are the ones that can make their own food, and from there you have photoautotrophic and chemoautotrophic. So bacteria are mostly these 2 types, mostly, right? Mostly, not all, because some are saprophytic. So bacteria, either they use energy of the light or chemical energy to make their food. Okay, so these are the photoautotrophic and chemoautotrophic. So synthetic bacteria, they are able to convert food light into food using light energy. Okay, because they possess chlorophyll. Example, cyanobacteria, we call it blue-green algae. So cyan is actually blue-green. The color of cyan is blue-green. Okay, chemosynthetic bacteria, they make food, like I mentioned earlier. They are able to convert one substance to another substance, and by conversion of that, it releases energy. They use that energy to make food. So what are the substances that they convert? Hydrogen, sulfur, hydrogen sulfide, they are broken down to release energy. Okay, so you the bacteria which do not use a lot of oxygen. They are aerobic. Okay, they are rotative anaerobic bacteria, means they are able to survive in conditions or places which are very lacking or low in oxygen. Okay, they thrive in that condition where they have this chemical process of breaking it down. Okay, and they get their food. Example will be all this. Another one you learn, nitrifying bacteria, nitrosomonas, nitrobacter. The one that we learned, the conversion of ammonium into nitrite into nitrate. Okay, somonas and nitrobacter. So don't remember the chemical equation. No need. Okay, now these are bacteria. Now algae. Algae are also called producer because they are able to, all of them have chlorophyll. Remember, algae, they are always green. Okay, they are able to carry out photosynthesis to produce food. So examples be Spirogyra, all right, all of them possess all the. Now there are also other smaller organisms which actually phytoplankton. These are small fish. What do they eat? Actually, you must be wondering. They eat all these small little substances. Like actually, it's like algae, but they are phytoplanktons. They are found in oceans or in the lakes or anywhere there's water. They include dinoflagellates and also diatoms. Last, I talk about diatoms. Diatoms are very pretty because they have silica-based cell wall. So it's like glass look, outside. Of course, they're very small. You need to put under the microscope. Okay, and diatoms are cellular. They are single cell, but they have flagella, and they are chlorophyll, but they can move. You see, so that's why it's called unicellular flagellated algae. Sometimes put them under algae. Sometimes scientists put them under protozoa. Okay, just like euglena. Euglena can belong to either of these groups. They are animals, they are plants. No one is really sure. Okay, samples of here. This is Chlamydomonas, like a bug, all right, with the 2 flagella, all right. This is Chlamydomonas. This is what do you call that? Strepto something. I can't remember the name already. It is green algae, but in a form of long chains like that. Okay, this is Spirogyra. Okay, Spirogyra with the spiral chloroplast, and this is dinoflagellate. Okay, and you see that they have flagella. They are also dinoflagellate. So these are under electron microscope pictures which are enlarged. Right? They have been magnified many times. All produce food, and they are the food for these little prawns. They becomes the fish food, and so these animals in they all these things. Okay, so that is as producer they make food. Right now, second group, second function decomposer. So we have seen breaking down. Decomposers are organisms that can secrete digestive enzyme. So the enzyme comes out of the body and is considered as extracellular. It's outside the body. They break down the substance, then they absorb the food back into their body. So they break down what? Complex organic matter like carcasses, dead bodies, also dead wood, right, on the bark and wood and all that, and also animals waste, animal feces, right, human feces, whatever, and they break it down into carbon dioxide, nitrogen, sulfur. All these are simpler substances. So they are from complex substances, you break it down into simpler substances. And this can become as minerals. Like if you form nitrates, this can make the soil fertile. Okay, and it'll be absorbed by the plant as their food. Okay, so this is fungus. So what are decomposers? Decomposers will include all the fungus and also the saprophytic bacteria. Okay, so decomposition is a way for bacteria and fungus to obtain food and energy. So they return the nutrients to the atmosphere. Okay, and then they help to maintain the temperature. That's like I mentioned, there has to be a cycle. It cannot be converting from making simple substances into complex. You have something to break it down and back into the original. So it's like a full circle. Things have to recycle in this world. Otherwise, you have something that's depleted. One day always convert, you find A will be finished. There's no longer A. So the B has to go back into A, right, to become A. So that's a full circle. Got to be a cycle there. Okay, next one as parasites. This is interesting. So this is not good. As you see the word parasite, that means it is harm done to the host. It actually absorbs food, absorbs nutrients, absorbs things that will be good for them, and the host will actually lose out. So the impact relationship, so the host harmed and it will suffer negative effects. So what kind of microorganisms here are considered as parasitic? Just now here, I remember I told you here fungus. Fungi come under decomposer, and saprophytic bacteria. Okay, so these are the examples come under decomposer. Okay, first you have protozoa. Okay, what kind of protozoa? So you have entamoeba. This is a parasite that enters the human body through food. Okay, so contaminated food. It causes dysentery. Dysentery is something like diarrhea, but it's not diarrhea. It is worse than diarrhea. For diarrhea, you do not get blood in the stool. Neither time or your shit the blood, right? Dysentery, there is going to be blood in the stool, and then it's actually your what they call your colon or intestines are actually bleeding there. All right. So this entamoeba is not just the amoeba, another type of amoeba is entamoeba. The name is Amoeba histolytica. Okay. So this is a protozoa. It gets into your if your food is contaminated. Okay. This causes malaria. Plasmodium, a kind of which uses the mosquito Anopheles actor. So they live temporarily in mosquito's body, and a mosquito, when they bite us, this Anopheles, female Anopheles, whatever there's the plasmodium inside the body, so it's another phase of their lifespan, life cycle. So and then they migrate to the liver. It actually destroys our red blood cell. It uses it's going to rapidly, or it's going to reproduce inside the red blood cells will be ruptured. So that malaria symptom is fever. You are going to get very chills, very hot and very cold. All right, they're very hot and very cold. You get cycles, alternates of hot and cold, fever and cold in this area. But in Malaysia, we have very rarely very less cases of malaria. In fact, we have more dengue. Dengue is another thing. Don't mistake the two. Even the mosquito is different. Anopheles, mosquito, Plasmodium for malaria. Where the dengue different mosquito is called Aedes. Aedes mosquito is the vector for the other one. Okay, fungus. Fungus is also a parasite because they live in our body. It can be on our skin. It can be inside as well. Okay, so sometimes when we have itchiness on, sometimes you have redness, especially all these areas that you do not dry it after your bath. You don't dry it properly. You find that it's redness everywhere, right? That one is actually fungus growing. There's a lot of fungal infection because of fungus, the skin as well. So usually skin diseases like ringworm. All right, I'll show you. Actually, food in Cantonese is called Hong Kong feet. All right, Hong Kong feet. Now I'm going to show you this. I want to show you this. This is Plasmodium vivax. So these are the red blood cells, and this Plasmodium actually attacks your red blood cells, and it reproduces inside there, and your red blood cells will die or get ruptured. And that is the Plasmodium. This is skin disease, Tinea corporis, ringworm. I call ringworm, like round shape, right? Ring redness, itch. And then now see all this. This is disease. Is also skin disease. Okay, fungus. This is having yeast. Actually yeast. Candida. Okay, so next one, bacteria. Parasites, some bacteria, not all. Some are parasites, saprophytic, autotrophic. So many types. They live in the organs. They cause a lot of diseases. Like examples of diseases is gonorrhea. All these are called TB, sexually transmitted diseases. That means diseases that can be transmitted unprotected sex. They do not use condoms and so on, or they have multiple sexual partners. Okay, so syphilis and gonorrhea. Smallpox. Okay, smallpox has been more or less eradicated since 1979. We don't have smallpox occurrence anymore. Okay, cholera is through bacteria, where you have something like diarrhea. The person will be going to toilet many times in a day, and also a lot of vomiting. So the person will lose water, will get dehydrated. People have to drink more water to keep to replenish their body okay, must drink the oral rehydration salt and drink water. Bubonic plague, this is the same thing. Bubonic plague is a disease that was it killed many people in Europe in 19th century. We call it the Black Death. Okay, why you call it a Black Death? After I show you, it's very horrible. The fact that almost 50 million people were killed by this Black Death, because at that 1350s, 1950, not 19, no, 1350, around that area, around that time, people don't have much knowledge about sanitation, and at that time there were a lot of rats. So rats was bringing this bacteria. Rat didn't cause it. It is actually the rat body bringing this bacteria. Okay, bubonic plague, and the bacteria is called Yersinia pestis. Okay, I'll show you. Don't get shocked, Be prepared to look. It's a bit not too nice to see. The part of the body that's infected becomes black. They call it Black Death. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, it's not that horrible, Okay, you see the hand? Yeah, it looks burned, right? Okay, this bacteria is Yersinia. It is brought, so that caused death of about 50 million people in Europe at that time. Okay, so like 1 in 4 people, 1 in 5 of people are eradicated. I mean, not eradicated, still people, but a lot of people, they didn't have actual sanitation. That's called the Black Death. All right, okay, let's go on to the next one. As symbionts, bacteria, these can also be some. What are symbionts? Symbionts are organisms that live together with another one, and they are like good friends. They help each other. Interaction. Symbiosis is a very close interaction or a relationship organisms that live together. So usually the organism is called the other one is called a symbiont. Okay, example of which okay, I'll show you this one. There are 2 groups. One is called ectosymbiont. Ecto means outside. So this symbiont live outside, live on outside the body, is inside. Endo is inside. So two groups. So ectosymbiont, they live outside the body, right? The whole cell. It can be plant, only just human, or not just only animals. Example, ectomycorrhiza, which is lives around the plant roots. So they inside it, and they will absorb the minerals, absorb the nutrients from the soil, right? And they also help them to grow, right? Some of them are mutualistic, now they help each other. Okay. So they have a very endosymbiont, they live inside. Okay, I want to give you an example in an endosymbiont. Endosymbiont example is the termites. You know termites, white ants. We call it white ants. Or we call it bạc ngày, white ants. Termites eat wood, right? And wood is a part of the plant, so it must have cellulose as their building material. Okay, the material that of the wall. So termites, right, when they eat the wood and all, this cells goes into the body, but actually able to produce the enzyme to break down the cells. So they rely on a protozoa called trichonympha. This protozoa live in the stomach, or in the intestine of these termites. So this trichonympha produce cellulose, the enzyme to break down the cell. So without this trichonympha, basically what we mean is the term even digest their food, cannot even digest the wood that they eat. Okay, so they are that important to the termite. Okay, so the relationship is mutualistic. So the termite gets gets the cellulose to be digested. Cellulose to be digested by the what do you call that, protozoa. At the same time, this will get shelter and also get food from the termite. Okay, so example, so ectomycorrhiza, one is ecto. You see, when ecto means they on outside, they do not penetrate the root cells or the hyphae. The roots, call it the strands. Okay, they do not the root cells, but for the endo, they actually go into the cytoplasm, absorbs the nutrient from there. Okay, so this is not important, right? You stick mostly to textbook. All right. Now, lastly, let's talk about the difference between pathogen and vector. This is for the law students also get. Let me see if we have to show you. Okay, no. Right. Now, pathogen and vector is a slight difference. All right. Pathogen is referring to things that are small. Typically, we're talking about the microorganisms. So these are the ones that causes diseases. It is because of these pathogens that we have the illness. So they actually cause the disease. So usually they will attack, right? They attack and they try to get into our body. They will attack our cells because they want to grow and they want to reproduce inside the cell. Okay, and they also release toxin into the body. So that's why we feel the effect of sickness. Okay, why do we have all the symptoms? Because the toxins are already inside our body. Okay, so examples of pathogens, which are protozoa, are things that causes malaria. Malaria, like I said just now, the name Plasmodium. Plasmodium is the name of the pathogen which causes malaria. Dysentery is the one that Entamoeba histolytica, the one that and blood in stool. Okay, fungi, pathogen. What kind of pathogen that are considered fungi? The ones that causes ringworm. And just I show you the picture of the skin disease, redness, white spot, right? And also athlete's foot. Okay, Hong Kong feet. Right. Bacteria. A lot of diseases are caused by bacteria. Pneumonia, that is the infection of the lungs. Okay. See the skin disease, right? In the olden age, but very scary because see actually it sort of like breaks down your skin, and then parts of your body will start falling off. It's very, very scary. Okay, syphilis and gonorrhea, these are sexually transmitted diseases caused by bacteria. Tuberculosis, okay, we call it in Mandarin we call it 肺痨. This is more severe case of the lungs. So what's the difference between pneumonia and tuberculosis? So I've asked actually a nurse before that. Pneumonia is actually recover quite easily. Okay, the bacteria in your body, it just produces mucus and mucus and the phlegm. You take and you get cured. There's no scarring. The tissues of your lung is not scarred. But for tuberculosis, it's called batuk kering. There is the tissue of your lungs. You can recover, but there will be scarring of your tissue. Okay, typhoid, the typhoid fever. All right. This is also is brought about the water and contaminated food. Not typhoid fever, sorry, just typhoid, and it causes something like diarrhea. All right. And diarrhea. These are the symptoms. Cholera causes Vibrio cholerae bacteria. Anthrax is another one caused by the bacterial name. Okay, virus. You must know. This one you understand. You must know what are caused by bacterial diseases are caused by virus. So you got to memorize a little bit lah. Okay, common cold, influenza. Okay, influenza and common cold now they are more or less. Pox, chicken pox, we call it 出水痘 on Chinese, got water and the pox there with water. AIDS, hepatitis, the B and the C, whatever, all these are by virus. So you need to remember bacteria because it's wrong for information. Measles, German measles are called rubella. Okay, by the way, rubella, we call it measles. SARS is severe respiratory syndrome. MERS as well, they are very similar because they are all corona. Okay, SARS, MERS, and also our COVID-19 belong to a general group coronavirus. MERS is Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. They are because they originated in the Middle East and so on. Dengue fever, COVID-19. Okay, all of these are caused by. Okay, so that is pathogen. They actually cause the disease. Now vectors. What are vectors? Vectors are usually organisms or animals that bring the pathogen. So they carry pathogen. So do not be mistaken. Okay, the vectors cause disease. They can see cause it, but because they bring the pathogen, but don't really cause it. Okay, it's because of the existence of vector. These pathogens are inside can be on the body. Examples would be mosquitoes, housefly. Okay, when your food is exposed, your fly could have gone and touched something dirty, right? Maybe the feces. You know, flies love all this smelly stuff, right? So they could have been sitting on a dead body or whatever, or then they come over, and of course, whatever bag is there will be stuck on their food, right? And then it drops onto your food and you eat it. Of course, you get your cholera and so on. Okay, so they are the ones that carry. So please make sure you use the word transmit or carry the pathogen. Don't use the word cause. You will say you say cause, that will be totally different. They do not cause the disease. They carry or they transmit is correct. Okay, so example, malaria is Anopheles, the female Anopheles. The males do not bite human. The males do not. They suck the saplings. Okay, they suck the saps. Okay, so it's this pathogen is the Plasmodium, but the vector is the Anopheles mosquito. Okay, so these are the symptoms. You can read about it later. Okay, the medication to treat malaria is called quinine. It's from a plant which is called cinchona. Okay, cinchona, I can't remember. Okay, but it's called cinchona tree. Cinchona. Okay, if I'm not mistaken. So that is the quinine. Now, cholera is taun. In BM, we call it taun. Then we call it Canada. All out. The person will be vomiting. The person will be going to toilet very often. It's very watery, the stools. Okay, and the person, literally, you have to make sure the person is hydrated. Must drink water. Otherwise, the person is going to die because of dehydration. Okay, and it's caused by housefly. Like I said, the fly has gone everywhere. All right, and galloping here and there, and don't know where he has gone to. And it is his body is contaminated. There's bacteria on his body, and then when it comes over into your house and it sits on your food, and that's it. Right, the bacteria goes to your food. So it's contaminated water and food. All right, stomachache, diarrhea, and all that. Right, that is common. Right, then another type of disease that is brought by mosquito, but it's not the same type. It's called Aedes mosquito. Okay, so fever, headache, and all that. Right, this is dengue. Typhoid fever, Salmonella typhi. Okay, bacteria. This is something like brought about some what you call the taun also. So you will have contaminated through contaminated food or drinking water, right? They is brought in by the rats, typhoid fever. Okay, food poisoning. This one contaminated food lah, right? So when you defrost your food, once you defrost it, you gotta cook it. Don't then refrost it back because the bacteria will multiply. You gonna get contaminated. And don't store your cooked food with your uncooked food. That means raw food, because the bacteria from your raw food can jump over to can contaminate your cooked food. Okay, do not store them together. The fever and so on. Okay, mad disease. Time in England, you have mad cow disease. Okay, it's also by virus. So contaminated beef normally go in the whole the cow. Okay, and then we eat the beef, right? We get okay. So now how we prevent it? Not kill. Once we know there's an outbreak, we will start the animal. Okay, better with cull. C-U-L-L. Cull is to systematically, selectively kill off the animal. Usually for C-U-L-L. We kill it for usually actively and also automatically. We kill off because of usually hygiene reasons or when there's an outbreak. Okay, SARS, S-A-R-S is severe acute respiratory syndrome. The group called virus. So virus is a major group. There are many, many types there, and they always mutate. Okay, go through saliva droplets, and then they wear our masks and so on. Okay, and also maintain social distancing. High fever and all these symptoms you can read, right? Bird flu, influenza virus. Okay, this one very similar to a flu, more severe. Okay, so the effect of pathogens on human health, right? So these are the symptoms you can read up. This is in the textbook. So virus, hepatitis B, it causes jaundice. Okay, jaundice is yellowing, liver enlarged, and you see the skin becomes a bit yellowish. Even for the white of the eye, the white part of the eye yellowish. Okay, you can die from it. Again, bacteria tuberculosis is batuk kering, or called batuk kering. Scarring of the tissue of the lung tissue after you're recovered. Coughing blood. That is one thing to know. Coughing blood. For pneumonia, you don't cough blood. For tuberculosis, you could be coughing blood. Okay, protozoa, dysentery, the one I mentioned, Entamoeba histolytica. That is the pathogen, right? It causes diarrhea and vomiting and so on. And fungus is like the skin diseases, tinea versicolor, so whitish or pinkish patches, and also itchy skin. Okay, so these are example diseases. You don't really memorize much, but common knowledge lah. You can give one or two symptoms. Okay, so that is all that's all about this role of microorganisms. So you will know, you can see your conclusion. It can be good, it can be bad. So not all microorganisms are bad, and also not all microorganisms are good. All right, so they all play roles in our ecosystem here, in our world. Okay, so I would have any questions, right? Maybe you can, all right, put in the comments for the video. I will try my best to answer them. Okay, so that's it for right. I hope you understand. Typically, I want you to understand the nitrogen cycle, which is, I find a lot of people get confused and they find that it's very difficult to remember. I hope my lesson more or less cleared the air for you. All right. Okay. So I hope to see you again or sometime next week. All right. So let me see anything on the comments here. All right, nothing so far, I think. All right, so I've taken up more than 1 hour of your time, so I hope you have understood and can sort of like, you need to replay it, please do. All right, okay, so I will see you next week then. All right, bye-bye, girls. Bye-bye, students, wherever you are. Okay, Liu Junyan, yes, welcome. Thank you very much. All right, okay, bye-bye. You mean bye-bye. See you next week. Okay, bye.